Welcome to the first episode because we have never done this before.
Welcome to the first episode of the Chip and Candy Show because we've never recorded one of these ever. So whatever you hear tonight is going to be absolutely 100% our first episode.
Just kidding.
Oh, just kidding. Should we tell the folks what it's like to try and record a podcast?
How many times? How many times have we tried this?
Enough that Piles, I think, is, more comfortable than what it was to try and record this podcast. So we're up to episode,
This is take 3.
Attempt.
Episode 1.
We're up to
3.
attempt 3. Yeah, that's a good way of doing it, right?
Yes.
Episode 1, take 3.
Like if we had one of those.
Clappers.
Yes.
If we had a clapper, don't worry about that, that's just a microphone. But if we had a clapper, it would be episode 1, take 3.
Yes.
The only problem with that, though, is that it's not like episode 1, take 3, and you're in, like the same place at the same time. This is literally 6 weeks in the making now.
This is weeks later.
Weeks later.
But we're here. And we don't, we're not keeping score.
No, we're not. But I mean, it's also podcasts are hard.
Otherwise everyone would do it. Okay, I know there's a lot of people.
Well, there's 4 million podcasts in the world. But yes, it is, yeah.
Some people, it probably does go smoothly. But other people, I'm sure, have also had similar struggles. What would we say our first struggle was with our first podcast?
Okay, so the first podcast was just kind of getting to know the gear.
Yes.
So setting up the microphones was the first struggle, just like that.
Getting camera angles.
Getting camera
setting
angles.
Up the lights. Our first, so we are sitting.
Actually talking normally and not like robots, because you know what it's like the first time and you're like, well, we're kind of talking in a podcast. We need to talk to each other yeah.
Also, do you remember when we were like, okay, we're going to rearrange our entire lounge for this.
We did.
We're going to sit on our blue couch. We're going to move this gigantic L-shaped couch out of the way.
Which is big and heavy.
And we are going to set it up so we're on the blue couch.
Yes.
That was our first idea.
Yes, that was, yeah.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of ideas. It's been a journey, I give him credit, Joe Rogan makes it look easy. It's not easy. We've been through a journey. Yes, furniture removal. We've basically turned our home into a studio.
Also, the first time was really good, but it was us sitting down having a chat.
It was.
And
now we've had a couple of wines and we're still going to have a chat, but...
Yes, we had no sort of structure. We didn't know where we were going.
Yes. Do you want to tighten that up?
Is
that just give that one that one there?
See, we're still learning. We're still learning.
That's good.
Here we are.
Chicken way.
I just had a little look at my audio levels. I was looking a bit quieter, so I've just moved me forward.
100%. Actually, that's probably a good idea.
You are quite loud.
Do the same. I'm very loud, so we'll just leave that where it is. Yes. Again. But yeah, learning, making mistakes.
Constantly learning.
Yeah.
And then the second episode, should we talk about what happened there?
Go for it.
We had learned a lot.
Hello.
By
sit
take
down,
2.
Sit down.
This is our dog.
Sit down.
The first time we locked him in a different room, and he spent the half of the episode scratching on the door, wanting to be let in.
I just think he likes the camera as much as I do, and obviously the microphone, but you can't look into the microphone. So come on, darling. Down you get. The second episode, yes.
Yeah.
Continue.
So that was going really well.
It was.
We learned a lot.
Yeah, we structured it differently in the second episode because we learned from the first episode that we were just kind of sitting down having a chat. Even though we got some golden moments out of that, and we got to use that for promo, which was great. Second episode, we're like, this will be the first episode. We'll get some structure. We'll ask each other some questions,
We got ChatGPT to write us some questions.
Shout outs to ChatGPT. Shout outs to ChatGPT,
Yes. Shout outs to our BFF, ChatGPT.
Our BFF, our PA, our VA, our marketing manager. Shout outs to ChatGPT. But yes, wrote us some questions and we asked each other some questions.
Yes, we actually literally had a big vase that the questions were in and we were pulling them out and then we were answering them. That went really well until our camera cut out.
Then the camera cut out. But also, let's not forget that for the first 10 minutes of that podcast, we had the boom arm of my microphone in the frame of the camera over my shoulder.
I forgot about that. Yes.
Yeah. So we fucked that up as well.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Half of my face was missing because there was a microphone.
There was a microphone in it, and we didn't know because if you don't know this, if you're watching or if you're listening, you're probably listening, watching, whatever.
Hang on.
You can't see that. Here we go. Candy will take a little photo.
I'm going to take a little video so we can overlay
and we can put that in there.
This is our setup right now.
We don't have a producer.
There's a lot going on.
We don't have a producer. There's no one telling us, there's no camera operator over here. There's no camera operator.
There's literally a camera over Chip's shoulder.
We're just doing this ourselves. We're literally setting this up ourselves and trying our best.
This would be my job, but I'm the one.
This would be what Candy typically does. She'd be the one there and we might have a guest or someone like this, and I would typically be here, but no, we're doing it ourselves. So that was episode 2. We made a couple of mistakes.
But we re-recorded.
But the glory mistake, I mean the big mistake.
We re-recorded though, so we were feeling good by the end of it. We're like, yes, we've done it.
Yes,
we've finally done it.
We did it.
It was also on a Friday night, Aperitif, our favourite wine bar in Greytown.
Shout outs to Aperitif. Shout outs to
Ellie and
Paul. Shout outs to Aperitif.
Yeah. So they were having their first birthday party, and everyone was there, and we were here recording our podcast. So
trying to get it done before the birthday party.
Yeah, so by the end of it, we were like, okay, we just want to hurry up, get it done. We kind of rushed the end.
Yep, we did.
And got so that we could hang out with our friends and celebrate.
So we put it all away. We put it in the can. We thought, yep, we'll deal with that next week. We go in next week. We lift it up. We import everything into the editing tools that we use. And lo and behold, the audio track just disappears. It's just burnt out into thin air. We checked everywhere. I don't know where it's gone.
And not to point out the obvious, but in our podcast, that is primarily audio that you need.
Yeah, it's kind of like the big thing.
You are listening to us. Yeah. And if you were watching us and listening to us, fantastic, because not all podcasts.
Not everyone's going to, tune in. I mean, maybe you're doing your laundry and you chuck it up on the YouTube, you Chromecast it to the TV because you want to see these faces. I mean, good on you. Also, most people will be listening on the audio.
Yeah, like some of the most favorite and famous podcasts are just audio podcasts.
100%.
So if we don't have the audio, then it's literally just like that.
Exactly. That was a great example of what it was. And just to reiterate, we've had a couple of ones. Just to reiterate, these mics aren't for show. So yes, they are what takes the audio. So episode 1, take 2, do a great job, and then the audio burns out, and I had to call Candace and I had to say, so we look great, camera looks great, everything's good. Angles look great, but small problem, no audio.
And I actually was on the phone and said, you know what? I had been thinking I wasn't happy with my camera angle, setup. Anyway, so I wasn't mad about it.
No, so look, as we always say, things happen for a reason.
Yes.
And and you want your first episode to be entertaining, you want it to be engaging, you want it to be something that's going to grab the people. So we've got a great story for you.
Yes.
And hence why we're here doing take 3 of episode 1. We did do what I would call, we had a slight problem, made a slight mistake in the promo lead up to this. My fault. I called it 7 days till launch before I checked and edited the podcast and didn't know that the audio had been burnt up. So obviously we're a little bit behind, but like the cheese guys say, good things take time, and here we are.
So the first episode of the Chip and Candy Show podcast is us explaining our journey to podcast
100%
stardom.
Yes.
I'm saying stardom because obviously this is going to blow up and everyone will be like, yeah, who are these cool Kiwis that are talking shit, drinking wine? And we'll be like, yes, that is us.
That is exactly us. And this is how we got here. It's not easy, guys. And yes, granted, 4 million people are podcasting, or there's 4 million podcasts in the world. So we're getting into an industry that is heavily saturated. But I'm sure some of them might have, not pressed record
That's not even the population of New Zealand, though.
Exactly.
So if you think about that.
Exactly. I mean, and let's be honest. I mean, 3.5 million of those, they're not going to be good. And this is going to be great because we're already three tries in. And we've learned from our mistakes.
And we're still going.
Yeah. So it's been a journey, and we got here. So hopefully you were listening to take 3 and not take 5 of episode 1 or 15. Because if we get to 15, that's when I think we might be a little bit tried on the situation. So if this is on here and the Facebook page hasn't been ripped down and we haven't given up and sold all the gear on Trade Me or eBay for those listening overseas, then yes, we have finally made it to episode 1.
We've done it.
God,
so,
what a trip.
Yeah, why don't we talk about why we started the podcast, what this podcast is going to be.
Yes.
We have released a little promo about what it is not going to be.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, for me, this has been a journey for... So I'll give you a little bit of background. I don't want this to be too much in background. I think, this is our first episode. I definitely want it to be story-based, but I definitely want to get into the, why are we here? Who are we? What are we doing? For me, look, background in broadcasting, when I was a kid, I literally used to chop up cardboard, but this is what you used to do when you were a kid, obviously, before we had, technology, and it might sound a bit weird, but when mum and dad would get the pack and save boxes home, I would chop up the cardboard boxes and I'd make little, CD discs out of them, and then I'd take a toilet roll and I'd cut a hole in it, put it on the CD disc, and then I'd sit at the end of the dining room table and I'd put mum and dad's, the 80s, 90s oversized headphones on, and I would literally sit there. Yeah, and I would sit there and pretend I was a DJ, playing music. I had a tape recorder, an old Sony tape recorder that I found in mum. It didn't work, by the way, because the batteries in it had been, but I used to sit there and I used to pretend that I was a radio DJ, because when I grew up, the radio was we used to listen to the radio on Christmas Day. We had 3 channels, 1, 2, and 3, before Sky and all that. So anyway, then I went to uni. I did uni media studies and all the rest. And then I found the New Zealand Radio Broadcasting School. That's where I did my broadcasting diploma, and literally got to go, and that was a dream, it was a dream of mine, be a DJ, be a radio DJ. Literally got to go and be a radio DJ. They had, stations set up. It was all, obviously training facility-wise, what have you. That was my comfort zone. I loved it. Got out of the radio training school, got your diploma, ready to go, face the world. 2007, the recession hits, and what happens? All the jobs in radio go, they micro down all of the local stations into the big ones, blah, blah, blah. And so, I ended up being a real estate agent. And that's a story for another time, which we'll get into. So for me, when the world of podcasting came out, I was like, what is this amazing podcasting thing, And you can do this. And all of a sudden, like I said, Joe Rogan blows off and everyone listens to podcasts and listen to their car and blah, blah, blah. And for a long time, I suppose it's just going back to your roots, going back to those dreams you had as a kid, and it's nostalgic and it's going back. And now I get to do it, with my wife and my business partner as well. And so for me, the why is that this is super comfortable for me. I spend a lot of time in business, and we're going to talk about business on this podcast a lot. I spend a lot of time in business outside of my comfort zone. This is inside my comfort zone. 100%. And I love it, and I'm really passionate about it. I'm really glad it's taken 4 years. You've come around, which is great.
Yeah.
I've
finally come around.
You've had to listen to me talk about it for ages. And hey, talk is everything. Talk is cheap until you have someone that supports you and go, well, why don't we just do this? Which is what you did.
And why don't we do this together?
Why don't we do this together?
And you know what? As much as you've been talking about comfort zone, and that is a big reason why you wanted to do this, it's a big reason why I wanted to do this as well, but for the opposite reasons.
For sure.
Because this is 100% not my comfort zone.
Exactly.
This is out of my comfort zone.
Yes.
Growth does not happen when you are in your comfort zone. So this is a way for me to push
100%.
Outside of the norm, outside of what I would normally do. I'm the one behind the camera. I am the one, I'm a bit quieter. This is not my comfort zone, but I am stepping out of my comfort zone to grow, to progress, to learn something new. But 3 times in, and I'm feeling good.
And I think it's such an important, we're talking about why we're doing this. I'm here saying, look, it's my background. I'm comfortable on a microphone. Anyone that knows me, or if you go and look me up, I'm in front of the camera all the time. So for me, it's like, this is great. I get to do this. Hey, that's, and as a job like this, we'll talk about jobs later on, but this is going to come out. But you've nailed it for your side of this. And this is so important. This is the whole foundation of where we're going to get into about what we're talking about. This for you is 100% about getting outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I think that's just so great that you've stepped into that. And as you said, this is how I grow.
And so, a big part of doing this podcast, and it was actually me after 4 years of you saying you want to do a podcast.
That was a long time. Yes.
4 years.
4 years is a long time to listen to someone rap on about doing a podcast.
But I was finally like, yes, let's do it, and let's do it together. Because I just think whenever we work together, whenever we do things together, we just create magic, right? Like, people just really are attracted to whatever we do together. So that was a massive thing for me, that I really wanted us to do more things like this, to work more together.
But even more so, as I said, what this has done, talking about, should we do a podcast? What are we going to talk about? What's it going to be about? What's the core of that? What's the foundation of that? And then talking about those things in turn have created all these new opportunities, which we won't go into too much on this episode, but certainly in the future episodes we'll be able to talk about. All these new opportunities that have come out of, the just, talking around something as something like this, like doing the podcast, and where that's going to go and where that journey is going to go.
And I think that kind of leads into what this podcast is about, because when it first started, it was about something totally different, and we were going to be talking about a whole bunch of topics and things.
Hence why we're on to take 3, episode 1.
But since we have started this process, so many things have happened that we've now decided that actually, like, we love working on this podcast together. We love working, even though we have separate businesses, and you are on McKay Media a bit, but we've realized that we really want to do more of that together, because
we're
we
intertwined.
just work so well together.
The beauty of all the mistakes we've made trying to get this out only gives value to the things that we want to do in the future.
Yes.
Do you know
and
what I mean?
To what we want to talk about.
This podcast is very much a spiritual journey, but it's also very much a journey about you and I, our connection, our relationship, as you said. Yeah. I mean, we've been together. Our personal development, our growth that you mentioned.
Business development,
100%.
So these are all things that we're going to be talking about. Personal development, like mindset, our businesses, like being in a relationship, working together, having a family, like, achieving all these things that we want to achieve and have achieved. We're going to be talking about it all. We are talking about it all.
We're going to strip it bare, give it a spank on the bottom, and just run with it. Yeah. See how we go.
And at the start, it is us.
Yes.
So that we can get our story across, so that we get sort of a theme going with the podcast, and then we're going to bring in our awesome friends who are doing awesome things, and they're going to be talking too.
Well, I love that you've brought that up, because one of the things we said in the promo was this is not an advice podcast. I'm not sitting here pretending to be an expert on anything outside of the fact that I'll tell you stories. Yeah,
we're sharing some learning that we
definitely
have done,
100%.
And sharing our stories, sharing our experiences, sharing what we go through, and part of that will come out in today's episode about what we have been up to this week, because if there is anything that just solidifies what we're talking about and what you and I talk about in our day-to-day, this week has really tested that. Yeah.
Before we get on to that, though, because I want to just, and that's a great talking point, but before we get on to that, because, you always want to give a little grab, like, oh, what are they going to talk about? So anyone that's listening, we'll keep them busy. I just want to go back to a couple of things that you've mentioned. And like I said, number one, this is not advice. This is experience. But we do have, because you said we're going to bring on guests. We are 100% going to have guests. We do have people, amazing people. Shout outs to our friends. Shout outs to our family. Shout outs to and I'd also just like to say on that, we're both only children, right? You're an only child, I'm an only child. Yeah. We did not grow up with brothers and sisters. And yet, and we're going to talk about this again long-term on the podcast, we could dedicate a whole episode to family, yeah? We grew up only children, and yet our son, our 10-year-old son, turning 10, 9-year-old, turning 10, Ari, he's got 11 uncles. People that I would call brothers. You know what I mean? Yeah. So what I want to say about that and the importance of the people that we're going to come on and the influence that we have in our lives is, whilst we're not sitting here giving advice or what have you, we have a circle of the most amazing, skilled, experienced human beings, and they might be listening to this right now going, I hope you're not talking about me, and I am. You know who you are. I'm talking about you, and I'm going to get you on, because we would not be doing this podcast if we did not have those people in our lives.
But also, you are the people that you spend time with, right?
100%.
And I don't want to say you are the top, whatever it is, 5 it is, because I don't believe in that it's a specific number. But the people that you spend time with, they become a part of you. You pick up on things from them. You grow with them. You expand to be either more like them if they are, like motivating to you. Well, you pick up mannerisms.
If you're at a point in your life right now where you're feeling like a loser, it's probably because you're hanging out with losers.
If you do have people in your life like that, maybe you've outgrown them. in your head, you have your ego that tries to bring you down anyway.
And we all have that.
So
We
you
all have
don't
that. We all
want
have
to
that.
spend time with people who do that for you. You're like, no, I do that enough myself.
Yeah.
I want to be with people who make me feel good.
If you go and YouTube the top 10 greatest motivational coaches, speeches, influencers of all time, somewhere in their repertoire, somewhere in there, they're going to say, if you're not at the point in your life where you want to be right now, check your homies, check your circle of influence. This week has been up and down. But if I didn't have my homies, like if I didn't have my people that I can literally give a phone call to and be like, mate, I'm having a week. And they can, like I said, not pull me down, but pick me up.
Yep, support you.
If I didn't have the guys that are already, and girls, that are out there doing it, killing it, winning it, like energy, got the hunger still, if I didn't have that, then I'm going to pick up the phone and someone's just going to be on that other end, neggy. I love the fact that we talked about we are definitely going to get some inspirational, motivational, amazing people on this podcast. And they're not necessarily superstars or sports stars. They're just the people we hang out with. So shout outs to the friends and family that are listening to this. Yeah. Shout outs to all you guys and girls who make us, who have given us the opportunity to feel strong in ourselves that we can do this. You know what I mean? Mindset. That's what we're talking about. Let's get into mindset because it is energy and hunger.
Yeah.
This is definitely something that we practice day in, day out. And I'd like to hope that if you are interested in practicing this and if you are interested in visualization, meditation, gratitude, utilizing this beautiful big thing that you've got, which is your brain, when you are stressed out, when you are feeling anxiety, when you are feeling overwhelmed and all these other things. And what a time we live in when we can talk about mental health, when we can talk about mental illness, when we can talk about the way we think, the way that we feel.
The things that you and I have overcome in our lives to get to this point where I first started to where I am today. Like I have grown so much mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
To the point that, we can deal with this kind of stuff now. It's not the end of the world. It's a little bit stressful.
We're not going to give you all the answers to the universe in our first episode of our podcast about mindset and what we're talking about. But also, yes, we have overcome trauma. We have gone through depression. We've gone through anxiety. We've gone through all of these things that people might be listening to now and going through.
Grief.
And grief, big one for me, which we'll talk about later on in the episodes. Being able to be in charge of your thoughts, your self-talk, your self-awareness. The brain is a muscle. Yeah. Train it. We will help you train it. We'll talk to you about these experiences that we've been through that have got us to this place of what you would call an ability to identify with it, self-awareness, what have you. And that hopefully in the smallest things, like having car trouble, being late for an appointment, hopefully out of this podcast, we'll be able to give you something that will make you be able to get to that next stage and get over that little hump. And I think that's the basis and the foundation of what hopefully our show, our podcast will grow on.
Why don't we now take it to our first
so this is exciting.
question?
Yeah.
I would say our first listener's question, but we haven't recorded a podcast.
Well, why don't you explain what we want to do? Why don't you explain what we want to do with the end of every podcast?
Yes. So because we got this question on one of our preambles, our pre-posts, and our lead-up, hype up to releasing the Chip and Candy Show podcast.
Yes.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop.
We got a question.
We
then decided, let's make this a thing. And guys, girls, send in your questions. And then at the end of every podcast, we will answer a question.
100%.
Maybe a couple of questions, depending on how much we've talked.
I'm sure we're going to be flooded with questions,
I was more thinking like if we're talking a lot, we might not have a lot
of
time.
We might take your questions, we might not, like we're in control of that. So,
so send them in. If you have questions that you want to ask us about what we're talking about, maybe about topics that you want to hear us talk about, about our lives, about ourselves.
We've got our first question, Candace. And guess what? It's all the way from the United States of America.
We are already international, baby.
We are international. This one comes in from Dennis Van Dyke, and he says, what makes your relationship so successful? So first and foremost, I'd just like to say I am humbled and grateful that someone that follows us on social media who sees, because we post a lot and do our thing, humbled and grateful, Dennis, that you would see our relationship as successful. That's such a cool piece of feedback. That's like cool. Amazing. But
Why
yeah,
don't
what
you
makes
take
you...
it away?
Do you want me to take it away?
Yeah.
Okay, so I actually had a long think about this question because it's a great question.
Yes, because Chip actually saw it, so he's
Yeah.
had time to
I
think
just kind
about
of
it,
dropped-
and
yeah.
I got bombarded with it just before. So yes, you can start.
Yeah. What makes your relationship so successful? Keeping your wife on her feet. So I just dropped that on her before we actually started.
I'm on my toes.
On your toes. So we talk about success a lot.
I think just as a society, we talk about success a
Exactly.
lot.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
actually,
yeah.
like, what does that mean?
And once again, we could do a whole podcast on what does success mean to you. I think at the end of that, we've also got to understand that success means something different to every single person. Yeah, your success, what your definition of success is, might be completely different to your neighbors. It might be completely different to, your...
It could even be completely different to your spouse. Like
Exactly.
Every individual person,
Exactly.
has their own definition. It
100%.
means something different to everyone.
I think the definition of success, it certainly has to do with joy. Having joy in life, having joy in your challenges, having joy in overcoming the challenges, like we've talked about before. Outside of joy, and this probably is what fuels that, in terms of success, is freedom.
Yes.
I personally believe that freedom, because look, I know that people say, well, being successful means having a Ferrari in the garage, having 20 million in the bank.
And that's cool if that's what your definition of success is. Like, if you're like, yeah, I want all these materialistic things and I'm happy to work that much for them, awesome, go you.
100%. If success is freedom and having a successful relationship is encouraging each other's freedoms, your spouse should be free to chase their own dreams. They should be free to talk about those dreams. They should be free to be in a relationship where you support them in those ideals, in their virtues, and in their values.
And they should be free to do the things that bring them joy.
That's the nucleus of a successful relationship.
But
because if you can truly be 100% yourself, and I'll just finish my part of this by saying this. When Candace and I first met each other, from the get-go, I was so comfortable in being 100% myself. There was no putting a guard up. There was no armor in front of me. I stripped down to myself. I was comfortable enough in this person to 100% be the person I am. And all my friends and family, shout out to friends and family, my circle, will attest to this because they know that when I'm out having a few drinks, when I'm out at a restaurant, having a couple of bevies with the boys, when I'm out, I'm Chip McCabe. And there's no difference from when I'm out with my friends to what I am when I am at home with my wife. And that is 100% one of the things I hold most to having a successful relationship. Be yourself, freedom, and absolutely joy.
And so all I've really got to add to that is, 100% joy, freedom, and just that it is a two-way street. It is you and I both in this together. We're a team, actually. I'm going to add in.
I love team. I do love team. You've got to be a team. You've got to be a team.
We are pumping each other up. We are on each other's side. We are passing the baton when we need it. When we're like, okay, I need a tap out. I need a chill. I'm now giving it to you. You can run with it.
Handy.
Like, we are a team. And it is two ways. It's not just one person giving, one person taking. No. We are in this together. And I think that for me is probably the biggest thing that I see as our success, that we are in this together. We are both putting in the effort. We both have our strengths and our weaknesses, and we work to each other's strengths and weaknesses. We don't put pressure on each other, like
I think that's a bit
unnecessary pressure. Because sometimes
you need pressure.
A little nudge.
Sometimes you need pressure.
Sometimes you need
pressure. You need people to push you as well. Otherwise, we would never have this podcast. Yeah. If you had not pushed me, and if I, vice versa.
Well, otherwise you wouldn't grow, right? You'd just be stuck. You'd just be living your life stuck in the same day-to-day mundane things that happen, and it's pretty easy to get comfortable.
For sure.
And do that. So sometimes you need a little nudge from your significant other, the universe, whoever, to do something, like start a podcast.
Yeah, just, I know I don't want to go on. Well, actually I do, because my podcast, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
We haven't set a
The-
time.
the
We haven't
team-
said how long this is going to be.
The teamwork thing in a relationship is so huge. And I think it's something that like we overlook so much. But I said it before, it's like if all my mates, if all my friends and all my family, if I run my inner circle on a no dickheads policy, well then why would I want to be married to a dickhead? Do you know what I mean? Like if I can take, like, everyone always goes, oh yeah, my best mate, like he's got my back. Well, cool. Like, why would your wife not have your back?
If you can't count on your family,
Like,
who can you count on?
if you can't count on the person that you like literally go to like sleep next to every single night, if that person doesn't have your back more than anyone else, regardless of all the mistakes you've made, regardless of, you know, who you are, what you are, where you are, what you're doing, if they don't, then mate, like, get yourself a new partner, 100%. Like that's it. And if you can't be yourself, dancing around the living room with your undies on, because that's what we do, you know?
I think it also, what comes into it is that you have the same motivations in life.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't work if, say, yes, you can both 100% be yourselves, but one person is like, yes, I'm going to be my best self. I'm open to growing. I'm open to doing awesome things in my life. And then you've got one person that's like, yeah, I'm going to be myself, but I don't give a shit about anything. I'm just going to look after number one, myself. I don't care about
And you just
progress.
stay over here and you look after all the other shit that's going on. You know, you look after the
you
kids
know,
and
like,
you look after the...
Yeah, if you've got the same motivations in life, if you've got the same... If you're happy being in the day-to-day, just doing what you're doing, then cool. And if you have a partner that is also happy in that, that's great. But I think what is great about us and our success is we are both people that we are here, but we see what's up there, and that is great.
Yeah.
And we are going to do what we can to keep progressing in life. And it's not until you reach a certain moment, because I don't believe in that. I don't believe you've got this goal up here and then you get there and you're like, I've clocked life, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, I think life is progress. It is growing.
Yeah.
You know, and we are both like that. And I think that adds to our success as a couple.
I don't think I could say it any better. You've taken the words right out of my mouth.
I mean, if you guys know Chip, he is not speechless very often.
I'm speechless. That was great. To finish off, I think the greatest thing that you're talking about as well is like, be open about your goals.
This is literally what we bonded about on our first date. We sat there and talked about our goals.
100%.
And our goals change as we go through life. The goals that you and I were talking about on our first date are definitely not our goals now, but that's okay.
Those goals change, obviously. But if you're not speaking about that, you know, on a regular basis, then where's your relationship going?
And just where's your life going? It helps keep you on track. We are the kind of people that here we are now, and we see what's out there. We see what's available. We see what other people are doing, and we're like, yes, that's awesome. Let's either do that too, or let's use that to expand and grow and motivate us to do cool things as well. You know, like, we see what other people are doing, and instead of being the kind of people that it's like, oh, look at what they're doing, and like try to bring them down, we're like, no, let's go up there.
We might need a studio. I don't know. I mean, we're going all the way. I mean, this is going to be the greatest podcast in Greytown to start. Then Wellington.
I think it's already
then New Zealand. It's probably the greatest.
There in Greytown?
I don't know. We need to fact check that, but certainly greatest podcast in Greytown, then New Zealand, then the world. So, you know, and we've got some great people that are going to come on.
So if you have been listening, we're going to leave a little Easter egg. We're going to leave.
If you've made it this far and you haven't either fallen asleep or driven off a cliff.
Maybe you've grabbed a bevy.
Maybe you've grabbed a bevy or two,
and
couple of bevies.
Obviously not if you are driving and listening to this, you have not grabbed a bevy.
No, definitely not. No.
But maybe you're listening to this and you've made it to the end, and we want to congratulate you. So we're going to leave a little Easter egg.
We're going to give away $100 cash to anyone that can comment Prosecco.
No, that's wrong. We would
Why?
be giving away thousands of dollars. You're
Nah.
saying that literally anyone
wait,
who
that's
can
right. Yeah,
comment
no, actually, I
Prosecco.
take that back. Take that back. Take that back. That was a one-time thing. Just comment Prosecco.
comment Prosecco or leave the little emoji of the 2 champagne glasses cheers.
Yeah.
Because if you know me, I am Prosecco. I love Prosecco. I'm drinking Prosecco.
Love Prosecco, but definitely not $100 to anyone that comments Prosecco.
Not $100.
If you've listened, if you've listened to this far, we love you and we enjoy you.
We are sending you $100 worth of love. Even more.
You can't get much more than that. I mean, that's great. $100 worth of your love, I'll take it. I will take it.
And not a prostitute.
No, exactly. So, yes, great first episode, take 3. It feels like 1,000 episodes, but it is the first episode, and we have got through it, and I am so excited.
And you guys have
about
got
this journey.
through it too. So congratulations.
Good on you. Exactly. Go and pour yourself a wine. Go and, sit back.
Or beverage of choice.
Or beverage of choice. Cup of tea might be.
It might be a Coke Zero. You know who you are.
Roll yourself, get some bubbles in the bath. Take a bit of me time, bit of self-talk. Tell yourself how amazing you are.
But we want to say cheers, congratulations. We've all made it this far. Let's do a toast.
Absolutely.
To what's to come.
And on that note.
Cheers, and then we're out.
Cheers, and let's go. Beautiful.